Okay. All right. I don't have any intro or nothing. I think that's what you're waiting for. But
Do the intro.
I'm not doing no intro. Um, the reason why I sent you this is because like they show these videos on Twitter all the time of these black kids, usually just beating up these white kids, and it's like it looks bad. And the story I told was I remember growing up, and I was punching these white kids out all the time, and it wasn't because they were white. Like I wouldn't do that. Um, it's actually because a lot of them are just really passive aggressive, and they like to run off at the mouth and insult you and mean mug you and do all this other stuff, but they're not ready to throw the hands. It's really weird. Like someone who will just like antagonize, and then you put hands on them, and then they act surprised that this is even happening. I just thought it was bizarre, and of course you can show someone getting punched in the face, and it's like that doesn't mean that person's innocent just because they got punched in the face or they got their hair pulled. And at the end of the day, like once again, like Tate says, every human interaction, there's violence. Like violence is a real thing. Physical force is a real thing, and you always have to consider that when you're dealing with other people, especially men against men. You have to consider that. And I think a lot of these people I know growing up, they never did. And you go right up to them, punch them right in the face, wouldn't even fight back. That's my story. You have any input there, sir? Any of you? Nagayan, you said you were
I
doing
used,
some bullying back in the day. You know about that, right?
yeah, I used to take a lot, and that's why, in a sense, I got bullied. But the point when yeah, you can say snapped, um, came a little later when I also realized that I could fight back in a sense. And but yeah, if you give a punch, people will also punch back. So that's I'll also learn the lesson that okay, I have to pick my battles, or at least know my opponent. And then yeah, it got gradually into okay, me being the bigger one at the fight and bullying them in that sense. So it didn't really had a tipping point, but it wasn't like snap. Okay, and I'm punching somebody because they just passed the boundary. It was, I think, a gradual change for me.
I just didn't like the whole point of like these white kids are just victims, and just because they're the ones getting punched in the face, like no, like you could have done something to deserve to get punched in the face.
Yeah, but that's the something is that what you don't know. Sometimes you just trigger somebody based on past experience that that person has, but not related to the person that
No,
was
no, we're no,
experiencing
we're
it.
talking about things that are pretty obvious. And it's so many of these videos. This is just a small snippet where they always show black people like, like punching someone in the face, going off on someone, and it's like, okay, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but a lot of these white folks, man, it's like they walk around like they got a force field bubble around them and they can't be touched. Like you can't do that. I remember there was
Isn't
this
that the same?
there's this one video of this young woman on the train, and the guy is pacing back and forth. He's acting crazy, and she goes over to the guy and she says, "Hey, buddy, why don't you take a chill pill?" The guy hauls off, punches her right in the face. Hey, you know what? Hey, you need to leave people alone. You don't know that guy. You need to shut up there.
Yeah, but isn't that also has to do with the okay, we
Here's what it
I'm
is,
not gonna
Nagayan.
generalize.
You got some people that'll go out on the African plain, see the lion sitting over there by a tree, and go walk over and try and pet him. Okay? You got those
Yeah,
people. Okay? I don't know what to tell you about those people. They're the problem. The lion is just doing his thing. That's how I see it. But that's it. That's it.
That's an extreme case, but yes, that would be generalizing for a lot of these cases and scenarios and videos. What I'm seeing,
Yeah.
it's yeah, I get what you mean, but at the same time, what you say that about it, I'm more focused on the tipping point because somewhere someone snaps, and then you get a reaction. The lion snaps. The lion doesn't snap out of nowhere. The lion snaps because yeah, his instincts is he's a predator. Yeah, predator.
Look,
Predator.
people ain't getting punched in the face for no reason. That's all I'm saying. Um, Angel, you do you have anything? Nothing.
Go. I continue. Keep going
That's
on.
it. Now this is how conversations work. You know, you either hop in or then I pass it off to you. If you ain't got nothing, you ain't got nothing. See, I know when to stop. I know when to stop on my topics. Okay, you got something.
I do not. But Nagayan,
You haven't been in any fights, no nothing, no input, no never been punched in the face, never punched anybody else in the face. It's never happened to you.
He punched a lot of people in the
Exactly. Like, what does he mean he doesn't have any input? This is crazy.
I just don't have anything.
You
good
just
about
told
that.
me an incident of you having to punch somebody in the face, and now you ain't got nothing to say about this.
I remember him being assaulted
Okay.
by
All right.
because they thought they were yeah, he got assaulted by two guys, assaulted, stood up. by two
Okay,
guys
I'm
because
gonna
they-
tell Angel's story. I'm gonna tell Angel's story for him since he can't tell it. He's riding in his car. His friend is antagonizing him, saying the most vile and just hurtful things. Angel says, "Okay, I'm gonna pull this car over." The guy says, "All right, let's go." Angel punches the guy in the face, and then everyone just acts like that guy is just the victim. Why'd you punch that guy in the face like that? That is exactly what I'm talking about here. You got people who will do everything. They will do everything leading up to an ass whooping, but they won't throw the hands. And then when they get punched in the
Why would
face,
you-
they're
Why would
victims.
you? Why would you refer to force? Is that necessary? Would that
Every
ever be
every human interaction, it all leads down the force, Nagai, and you might not want to believe that. It leads to force.
It can always be deferred by or either inaction or the appropriate action, but without the force.
Here's the problem. People who don't respect that fact that force is a thing and force is a possibility, that's how force ends up getting used on them because they never respect it. They're like, "Oh, you can't touch me. There's a force field bubble around me. So I can go around here." Like my story that I told in the chat. The kid was throwing papers. So when I retaliate, he's thinking like you, Nagai. He thinks, "Oh, we're going to resolve this by throwing papers." I'm going to throw a paper back at him. No, I'm not. I'm not going to throw papers back at him, Nagai. We're not going to resolve it with papers. We're not going to resolve it with words either. If he understood that violence was a real thing, he would have never threw that paper. It would have never happened. And we would have all gotten along, and we would have all had respect for each other. That's why back in the day, you could just challenge someone to a duel. Like, that's why that was the thing, man.
So everybody needs an ass whooping. At
Yes.
least once.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So Ed does have a point. At some point, some certain people, there's no way of reasoning with them. They just need a reality check, right? But I don't think I don't think it's appropriate for you to put your hands on anybody else. There's a lot of things, and a lot of times, usually when we pick a fight, let me just say this. Usually when we say yes to a fight is because we know we either are gonna
Win it?
break up even, but most likely we will win. Okay? You never pick a fight that you're gonna lose, right?
Mm,
Sometimes you don't think
Happy?
about it,
Yeah.
man. It's not.
yeah. Sometimes.
Well, most
And
likely you're gonna pick-
once again you're making that
Yeah.
mistake of the aggressor, the person who initiated physical force is the one who's picking the fight. What I'm telling you is the person who was passive aggressive. They're the one that actually initiated it. And they didn't realize that their passive aggression was going to lead to physical force.
Well, I'm just saying. Usually, okay, most of the fights I've been in my life is because somebody either poked me to that extent,
Yeah.
um, or somebody actually tried to put their hands on me. Actually, I couldn't think of somebody, but Nagayan just reminded me of this. But I couldn't think of somebody who actually punched me in my face. I was like, no, I never got punched in the face or anything like that. But I did once, huh, Nagayan? By those two kids.
Yeah, they did. They punched you in the face, right?
Yeah.
They went
Um.
up to you because they thought you were the troublemaker. You were the instigator. They thought.
Yeah. So listen to this. So when we was and the guy wasn't around that day, right? And I think they did punch me in my face. I can't remember, but
They punch you that hard, huh?
that I forgot. No, listen. So I was in the corner and this kid comes up to us and the kid is just like talking crap and talking crap. So one of my friends, his name is Gregory, right? He just like doesn't shut up. He's telling him things. Then my other friend, he's telling him things. So Gregory ends up like smacking him in the head, but it was a little kid. So he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my brother on you or whatever, whatever." So I'm not even thinking anything about it because I'm like, okay, I had nothing to do with this. So here comes these two kids and everybody's like, "Oh, Carlo, oh, Gregory, they coming for you," and da 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 da. So they say hi to everybody and leave me for last. And I'm like, oh man, they come in peace. Like, what the heck is going on? And I can't remember he actually hit me. But what happened next? You remember that?
What I remember was, how we told the story is back. There's two kids. You call them kids, but they were already quite big in comparison to our heights and weights back in the day. Yeah, I think you could call it a lito, 2 litos. Walked up 2 liter, and they said like, so were having some issues with my brother. You were the troublemaker. You were, yeah, instigating me. And they stood up to him and they said, what happened then? I think you were like confused for what are they talking about. And after that, he just swung at him. And I don't know if they hit you or not. I wasn't there, but he swung at him. You, I think he hit you. But in that hit, you also punched him back. The other guy jumped from behind on you. I don't know how you escaped that, but then yeah, Gregory came in, and then
When the dude swing at me, because he went to hit me first or something, and I hold on to his shirt, and that's the only reason I didn't hit the floor. But these are like big kids. Like I'm like super skinny, and I don't know how I ended up like beating their butt. Like I really gave them a whooping, and I don't know how I did it. Like I can't remember what the hell happened, but I ended up like latching on the back of one of them, and I remember like punching them in the back of the head, and the other one at the end, like when they almost had me, like I thought they had me, man. And at this point, I have my head down, and I think somebody had me, and one of them grabbed my little friend, like we the same age, but the kid was super skinny, but they grab him by the shirt, and that's when I really like got angry, and I started like freaking beating on him. And one of the security guards that worked around my house is the one that like grabbed me by my pants, and I thought it was somebody else like about to jump me. I'm like, yo, there's more of them, and it was actually a security guard that held me back. And I was so mad. But Ed, I do get it. I just don't think it's appropriate.
It's not about it being
So that,
appropriate or the right thing to do. It's like, hey, you can get punched in the face. Not saying it's right. It's not. I'm not saying it's right, but it can happen to you. That's like if someone said, hey, there's a bad part of town. I'm not justifying someone mugging you, but I'm just saying that you need to understand that that can happen to you, and take the right precautions.
yeah. A lot of times, yeah, people do instigate you and then be surprised when you react to it. They think it's fine. But that happens a lot over here, man. That I see that a lot
Dude,
over
I'm
here.
walking down the hallway at work, like people mean mug you and stuff. Like, some girl will mean mug me. I'm like, like, what is this?
No, that's how they say you're attractive and stuff.
No, no, that ain't what it is.
You know what but Ed, you were saying okay, so I picked this in particular because of the story you gave us, like the sidekick and everything. Can you tell us about that? Like in the way you did that?
No, I told the kid, hey, stop throwing papers at me. He doesn't listen. Like I said, he thinks that this is gonna stay a paper fight, but it doesn't. When someone tells you, hey, stop, like maybe you need to stop. And I casually walked over, and just side kicked him as hard as I could. And he's sitting down in his chair. I would have followed it up with something else, but he just sits there like he's shocked that someone just got up and just side kicked him.
At least you had the mindset of like, okay, he's not defending himself. This is where this stops. Um, that doesn't always happen. Like by the time I'm angry enough to throw a punch at you, somebody's gonna have to get me off of you, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not stopping. Like, it's very hard for me to stop.
Dude, most of the fights I've been into, like most of them was like just it's these kids, man. They'll just keep messing with you, and then when you go off and finally hit them, it's like nothing. Like you really didn't think that someone would just walk up and just put hands on you. You just didn't think that could happen to you, and just looking
Yeah,
shocked.
but Nagain, do you understand his point? Like, you understand what he's saying? Like, I understand both things. I rather try to avoid the fight, but he also used the example of my friend, right? If you my friend, why you choose? If I treat you good, if I do this for you, if I do that for you, why you choose to insult me? Why do you choose to mistreat me? Like, it's almost like you are actually asking for as with him. You understand like
I don't know
what I'm
how
saying?
people think, man.
Yeah, I
I don't get it.
understand, but at the same time, it's it's more than that because yeah, it's your friend, and that's the twisted part of it.
Yeah.
Um, why would you even resort to pushing someone, a friend of yours, too much to bring him actually over the tipping point? And of course, where's the tipping point? Where is that point where Dito actually says it's enough?
Yeah.
And I think in there lies the beauty of how deep can a friendship go before it's wayward or sideways, or how do you
These
sidekick.
aren't friends though. These aren't friends. These are guys who you just
But
happen to be hanging around with. Okay, that's what it is, man.
I, in in some ways, yeah, you're right. But in some other ways, because it's more complicated than that. But like, if I tell you, Ed, if you provoking me, if you're doing something that you like, honestly, no, it's not cool, it's not alright, and I actually stop, and I never said anything to you before, um, of this sort. But if I tell you, hey, you need to stop because today is not the day, and those words never came out of my mouth, wouldn't you take that as a serious warning?
Well, I mean, you're talking about me. I don't mess with people, man. I don't have that in me. I'm not sitting around here trying to antagonize anybody. Even if
Yeah.
even if I don't like you, I just don't interact with you. I just go walk somewhere else. Like I don't. Why am I interacting with someone who I don't like?
So I do have a story. Like I had a friend. He was like my best friend, but I'm like I don't know. It was like I had like five best friends at this time, and we were like very like family members, like very close. We were always together, doing everything together, right? But this kid and me, we used to fight each other like every 2 Thursdays or something. Like it was like very often, like every 2 weeks, we were like choking each other and stuff like that. And then we would sit on the friggin' sidewalk, just cool off and just keep playing whatever we were playing, football, baseball, hide and seek, whatever. know who I'm talking about, right? Nagayan?
Yeah, I said no. You don't know who you're talking about.
The only one of our friends that I fought like constantly.
Gregory?
Gregory, man. You remember that? Or like my
Yeah, but
brother
by the
always
time I was around, you guys already had found like a level of uh, we know how far we can go, and that we're still gonna remain friends. So it didn't happen that often anymore. So I think I witnessed one episode or two episode where you guys fought, and then after that it was okay. But it was just yeah,
yeah.
it
And
was like part of the clique. How we
yeah, I don't know. It was so strange, man. And even like we had boxing gloves, Ed, and he always wanted to put the gloves on with me, and like he was always like, "Yo, put them on." I'm like, "Why me? Like, why you always trying to?" But I don't know, because my brother always brings up that story, right? So we were in my friend's house, right, and we were walking around my friend's pool, and we were just arguing or whatever, and we were like normal. And my brother passed by me, and then he like looks back, and we not there, and he looks inside of the pool, and we like choking and punching each other inside of the pool, and he's like, "What the hell are these two doing?" And just I just find that to be like such a like funny friendship slash frenemies. I don't know what to call that. And yeah, you're right. But by the time we were a little older, by the time like I was already like separating myself from that group. By the time Nagayan like really became part of the group. Um, but yeah, man, it was always something with that kid, man. You said you had a fight with him too, right?
yeah, I had the fight with Gregory. We put some gloves on. That was also one time, and I remember I was the first one who challenged Gregory at the fight. At least Gregory was the first one I challenged at a fight that I remember.
And
And
what you say to him? What he say back?
I, I think it was his attitude that I disliked, but it was just a build up of things, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for him, and I'm just gonna challenge him. Like, yeah, let's fight. I just wanna, yeah, I just wanna get at you. And then we went to a corner because Carlos's house was there, and we went to another corner. And I remember that day as the day of today. But um, he came out with face punch bursting, and I was like, "What the fuck did I get myself into?" Because he didn't want to get hit, and I recognized that, but I just froze, and I was like, "Okay, he's in for serious damage, and I'm not gonna go even further than this because only gonna hurt myself." And
So
I just
you guys didn't really fight?
he hit me once, and I turned around and cried, man.
Shit. Okay. Um,
That's
well, it wasn't freaking a real fight then.
no. After that, we had put some gloves on as well, and
I
we went at it a couple of times. But yeah, every time he went in for a kill. But with gloves on, we managed to punch a few times, and then he threw me into the bushes once, and then I threw him into the bushes once. So street fight.
um wow. I don't know. I didn't like fighting, man. I just didn't like not my friends, not people I loved. I didn't want to fight anybody I liked. Obviously, right? Why would you fight somebody you consider to be your friend?
Just to challenge them, I think. Just to challenge each other.
I know, I never wanted to fight you, And then I was like, I want to fight him because you just looked like you were strong, and I wanted to see.
We put, one time we put gloves on, but we went at it, but you didn't take it very serious.
No, because I really didn't want to like see you as somebody I would take serious in a fight.
He
But
wouldn't,
you
he
look
wouldn't,
strong.
he wouldn't get mad. He wouldn't be focused. He just, okay, yeah, let's punch a little bit, and then act like we are hitting each other. And I was like, okay, you're not really fighting me, Vito. Come on.
Yeah, I just didn't want to. I don't know why, but I wanted to see like how hard you could punch, man. I remember that. I'm like, oh, I want to see. If I'm gonna count on you in a fight, I want to see if you can punch hard, man. Um, but that's pretty much it, man. Ed,
So,
no gang activities for you, man.
nope.
No, no, no. Do rags. What's it called? No. You imagine Ed with a do rag over here?
Nope, none of that.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I think that that's been done for a minute now. It was cool to share some stories.